also it's a guitar way above my standard of playing, and that inspires me. You know, a great guitarist can get a great sound out of anything, but an average guitarist like myself, you know, we want some toys, we enjoy playing with it. You know, this is a hobby as much as anything. It's there to bring you pleasure. Well, playing with this is so much fun. Hi guys, my name's James and thank you for coming to watch. I wanted to do a sort of demo review of my latest guitar, which is this Paul Reed Smith Special Semi-Hollow body, which I bought recently instead of a Gibson ES335. I was in the shop for ages. I actually went in for a Les Paul, but I sit down a lot to play and I just can't quite get comfortable with a Les Paul, but one day I'm going to buy one. Obviously it's still a dream guitar for me. And I was playing this ES335 for ages, and then I saw that this was on sale. It was about £1,200 off, which was about a third of the price off basically, and it actually made it slightly cheaper than this 335 that I was looking at, which was a natural finish. I think it was, I'm not sure, it wasn't a custom shop, but it wasn't a standard either, because it was quite a lot more expensive than the standard ones. But I definitely will get a 335 at some point, whether that's a Gibson or a Collings or whatever. But for now, I saw this. They had a couple of different colours in the shop. I liked this guitar, playing wise, you know, I sort of played around with it. But also, I do prefer sort of more traditional type finishes. So for me, this sort of tobacco burst, sunburst look is great. It's 22 frets. It's got great tuners. That might sound like an odd thing to talk about straight away, but actually it's really important. This barely ever goes out of tune, which I think is great. Obviously today it will go out of tune while I'm playing. And what I found interesting with this guitar is, like, I've always played a Strat. Strats give you so much flexibility, which is great, although none of it feels sort of gimmicky. I was a bit worried that this would feel gimmicky, and I would say that after 6 weeks of having it, I'm not at one yet with this guitar. It's not a fault of the guitar at all. It's just that there are so many options on here. I haven't actually sort of nailed the sound that I want from this guitar yet, but you know, the more I play it, the more I like it. I would say that the neck has a sort of sticky, I mean, it's obviously going to be a nitro finish because, you know, it's an expensive guitar, but it's quite gloopy. My other two Fender guitars both have scraped necks, and they're really, really smooth. This one, I do find that if my hands get sweaty, which they do when I'm playing, there's a lot of friction here. So that's the first negative that I would talk about. The other is that the pickups are really close together and the action is very close down to them. And so really, you only got these two little areas here in between the two pickups where you can really comfortably play. And I find myself a lot of the time hitting a pickup. That's just, you know, down to me as the player to try and learn how to use that. But that is a slight thing. It's not a huge big deal. Otherwise, it's a gorgeous guitar. You know, the details and everything are what you expect from an expensive Paul Reed Smith. And I have to say, it was always a dream to have a Paul Reed Smith. So this would possibly be about the only one I ever own, and I'm happy with it. But I wanted to take you through the tones. Maybe that's something you want to hear more of on the internet. Obviously, there are some other much better guitar players that have done reviews and demos of this. I'm going to keep it quite simple. I really just want this to be a reference for you, how each selection sounds, clean, and then with more of a lead, gritty lead sound. So I'm using my new amp, which is a Tone King Sky King, and I've got it in the rhythm channel, set the way that the manual basically describes a blackface Fender sound, which is one of my favourite. So I haven't turned the reverb up very high. I'll put a picture of the settings on the screen in case you're interested. The tremolo is not actually on because I've got it off with the pedal. So yeah, let's go through the tones. Basically, I'm going to take you through each selection. Both of the bigger pickups, you can coil tap them. So I'll show you that as I go along. I'm generally going to play it with the volume at around 6 or 7. It's really punchy, very loud, a lot of sort of bassier elements, especially in the neck position, which makes things in this room shake. But I will show you as well. But generally I'll be playing at sort of 6 or 7. And the tone, I'll tell you if I change it, but let's keep it up around 7 or 8. There's you know, a lot of fine control with both of these pots, so that's really great. But I'm just going to play a simple lick, and I'll just play it for each selection. I'll tell you what I'm doing. So 6 or 7 on the volume, neck pickup, set to humbuckers, tone at about 8. Now, if I was to put the volume up, you'll hear that it's pretty bassy. But it does sound great, I do love it. For the sake of this, we'll keep it a little bit lower. It's funny though that my Strat, you know, on the highest volume, it doesn't break up the amp at this setting, but the output on this. Okay, so let's tap that one. That's this first switch in the up position. And just to compare back in the other position. And back up again to the single coil position. So it just sort of takes some of the bite out, some of the depth. It's what you would expect as lower output. So that can be quite useful. I don't find myself using it that much, so let's put it back down. So if we just take the tone knob down to 2 or 3, and up to 10. And all the way off. I think that's a really, really cool sound. It would have its uses. Okay, so let's just see how much it cleans up when the volume goes down to sort of 3, 4, tone on 8. I think that's great. It really lightens the tone up. Brings out the treble more. Of course, there's less output, there's less breakup on the amp, so if that's what you're after, especially if you're recording, I think that works really well. Okay, so let's move on. So the next selection is with these two pickups. This is the narrow field and the neck. So in comparison, smooths it out a little bit. It's maybe less sort of edgy, less raunchy, less soulful as you bring it into using both of these. But it definitely has its own sound. And the tone down. I think that could be a really useful sort of all-purpose backing rhythm sort of sound. You know, it's not too bassy. You know, it's got enough middle in there. It's not too trebly. It just probably would work really well in a band setting. So if we then tap the neck, so we're in the single coil position. So put it back down. There's a subtle but good difference. It does clean it up a bit. There's less output. I think actually that's really great. That's a good tone variation to have at such a with such a small flick of a switch, basically. definitely breaks up more when it's on the humbucker. Okay, so let's move on to the middle position, which I think a lot of people may think it's just this pickup, but it's actually the two main humbucking pickups, the two big ones. So, keeping this the same as it has been. Let's turn the tone all the way up. It was on sort of 8. Down to about 5. This is a really comfortable tone. It's not got too much of anything, I find. Not too bassy. If we turn the volume all the way up. It can be pretty hot. The pickups on here are pretty hot, so it does pick up squeals, and you know, if it gets caught, if the string gets caught under your fingernail. And there's not a lot of room for finger picking, which I might have to try. I might have to lower these pickups basically a little bit, just to give me a bit more space. You know, I've got reasonably large fingers. That's definitely wide, so you know, I'm hitting the pickup there, and it's so close to the pickup. You know, the output is so high. So maybe I'd lower these. Okay, so that's probably why I'm bringing the volume down, because the pickups are so close. Maybe I'll do another video showing how low these will go and what difference it makes. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. Okay, so let's put the neck pickup tapped. It's a very subtle difference. Let's do it the other way around, so it's this one. Untapped, tapped. It's a slight difference, and then if we have both of them untapped for a second. Okay, and then tapped. Yeah, that makes a bigger difference, of course. In both cases, this is the most even, sort of least characterful position of putting the pickups. I would say, you know, it's the most neutral. But in that way, it could be one of the most useful, to be honest. Okay, so moving on, we've now got the narrow field and the bridge. Okay, so this it seems to be pushing a lot of the high end and the low end at the same time. Let's turn the tone down a little bit, play with that. Turn the volume up. It's very present, it's quite edgy, it's got a lot of high end. Probably not my favourite position. Maybe if I turn the tone down and the volume down. Now you still get that more edgy, jangly sound, which is not my favourite. Turn the volume down to 5. Then maybe, yeah, you start to bring that high end down. It's a bit more manageable for me. Bring the tone back up. So if we split the bridge pickup, yeah, I think I probably like it split in that position. Yeah, then I think actually that's probably the way I prefer it. So we're with these two, but this one is split. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. Okay, so let's get on to the last position. I think it's a great pickup. I really love the sound here. Let's split it and see what happens. That's volume 4-ish. Volume all the way up. And unsplit. You can go from a tone like this to a tone like this. So considering I could do these two tones so close to each other, if I split the bridge, put it in that position, turn the volume to about halfway up, and then at the flick of a couple of switches, so in that neck position you get the really beefy tone. It's just on the edge of breaking up nicely, and that was in the tapped position. You've got loads of real characterful, soulful sound there, and all the way at the other end of the spectrum, but for me that's got sort of reminiscent of like a Peter Green, someone like that. You know, it has that natural but edgy sound. You know, it doesn't sound like I'm pushing it through too many pedals or anything like that. But having said that, if we put it on the lead channel, so this is supposed to be more like a tweed amp sort of sound. We're back in the neck position. really enjoy it in this sort of lead setup. So if we just go through the tones a little bit, that was with the tap on the neck before. In the middle, these two outside ones. And the other thing I can do with this amp is put it in a more sort of martial frame of mind. Yeah, that was fun. So if you put it in that much more lead sort of crunch sound, I mean, this guitar can do it all really, from wonderful full low end cleans on a black face to crunchy sort of high treble tweedy grit up to really overdriven Marshall sounds. Obviously a lot to do with the amp, but this gives you the tool. This gives you all the different ways of setting it up. So for that, I'd have to say I'm getting more and more into it. It hasn't sort of got me right in the soul yet. It's not, for me, I'm a Strat guy. That's what I grew up playing. That's the first guitar I ever had. I was given it when I was 10 or 11, and I love it dearly. I can't say the same of this yet, but it does take time to sort of build that bond with a new guitar, and the more I play around with it, the more I see what it can do. And it's a guitar way above my standard of playing, and that inspires me. You know, a great guitarist can get a great sound out of anything, but an average guitarist like myself, you know, we want some toys, we enjoy playing with it. You know, this is a hobby as much as anything. It's there to bring you pleasure. Well, playing with this is so much fun. There's so much versatility here, and it will just keep you wanting to get it out of the case, pick it up off the stand, plug it in, and play around with it. So I would say if you're in the market for a semi-hollow, then definitely look at 335s, but also pick one of these up, see how you feel about it. And if you've always wanted a Paul Reed Smith, I think this is probably as good as any of the great ones. I hope that's been of some use. It's my first ever demo, so my playing was pretty shaky. It's weirdly nerve-wracking playing by yourself, for yourself, in front of a camera. Although I've played for a camera before, sort of doing a demo, I know there's going to be a lot of people telling me how rubbish I am. Hopefully I'll get a lot better. It's just sweaty palms, is all I can say. But anyway, hopefully a few people will watch this video, and if there's more you want to know about this guitar, if you want to hear it through different amps, if you want to hear it with some pedals just to see how it reacts, or I missed out something glaringly obvious, please let me know down in the comments. I'm happy to oblige. We've got plenty of time, obviously, with the coronavirus, to sit at home and play. Hopefully I'll become a much better player as I practice, and you might see that if you watch. I'm going to do a review of my Strat, which I've just overhauled. It's got some new bits and pieces. I've got going to do a review of my new 52 reissue Telecaster, and also of this Tone King amp, and show you more of what it can do. So yeah, hopefully you can tune in for that. Please subscribe to the channel. I really want to get above 1,000 subscribers. I've been sitting around the 800 and something mark for months and months. So I would really appreciate if you could give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next time.